Okay, so we are going to start in section 1 of chapter 8 to start off things for the third 9 weeks. Now, I know some of y'all said, wait a minute, I thought we already covered chapter 8 in the first semester or in the first 9 weeks. And if you were on remote, you probably already looked at these slides or at least a variation of them during that time because that was originally on the list of stuff to cover. We didn't get through it in class because there's just so much to cover. And so I skipped over these 2 chapters. I'm just bunching them together to form one Greek unit, which should be on chapters 8 and 9. So that's what we'll be doing over the course of the next couple of weeks. It's chapters 8 and 9, and it's a condensed version. If you look at the name, I've titled it Chapter 8 COVID and Chapter 9 COVID because of everything that's going on. I have reduced these 2 down to make it into one unit. Once we get done with this, we will continue on with our next section, which I believe is on Africa. And we'll do that the second half of this first part of the 9 weeks. The stuff that's going to be on the benchmark test will be chapters 8 and 9, and then chapter 13, I think. Either way, I'll go over this in more detail. It's the first 2 chapters we're doing. It's going to be what's on the benchmark test. We're just, like I said, combining chapters 8 and 9 together to form one Greek unit. And so that's the plan. So let's go ahead and get started on it. Now, these are going to be very short because we're doing basically 6 sections. I think the second in chapter 9's got 3 also. And so they're going to be shorter. They're going to be shorter videos, but we're going to cover some of the stuff about Greek history, just the basics. Standard 8.4, identify cultural contributions of classical Greece, including politics, intellectual life, arts, literature, architecture, and science. The objectives, we're going to discuss the Minoan and the Mycenaean people, and we're going to analyze the city-states of Greece. And so that's what we're going to cover in this first section. So, just a little bit about the geography of Greece. The Greeks live on a rocky, mountainous land surrounded by water. Greece is a peninsula that is made up of smaller peninsulas, and I'll show you a map in just a few minutes. There are also many islands that make up Greece. Now, the fact that it is a rocky, mountainous area surrounded by water means that Greece isn't easily invaded because to get to it, you have to go over mountains or on the water. And as we've discussed so far, part of the design of putting your location on the water is to keep it where you can see enemies coming. If you are set up on the water, you can have somebody on lookout, and if someone's coming by boat, you're going to see it long before they get to you. And so that's kind of a strategic positioning. It being a peninsula, it means it's surrounded on 3 sides by water, much like how Florida or Rome is set up. And it's made up of smaller peninsulas. And there's also a number of many islands. These islands are going to play a key role in Greek mythology as well as the Greek culture. So you see here, this is Greece, and it's not as clean cut as Florida or Italy when it comes to being a peninsula, but you see it is surrounded on 3 sides by water. There's a number of little peninsulas that is made up off of it, a number of islands, a lot of islands that they have that goes along with Greece. Athens, Greece, the capital, is located right here on the tip of this peninsula. And so you just see, these are just a number of the locations here. And really, this southern part with the island of Crete and the southern part of the country right here is really going to be a lot of where our story starts off at. And that's going to be with the Minoans and the Mycenaeans. Many cultures settled in Greece. 2 of the earliest were the Minoans and the Mycenaeans. By 2000 BC, the Minoans built an advanced society on the Isle of Crete. it was seen as being one of the most advanced societies of the day. People today still marvel at some of the stuff the Minoan people were able to do, but their society was destroyed. You see that on the island of Crete right here, that there's the Minoan civilization, and then up here in the southern part of the country is the Mycenaeans. And if you notice, when the Minoans ended in 1600 BC, the Mycenaeans really start to flourish. And the Mycenaeans are actually going to take over Crete and try to kind of grow their naval power, because the Minoans were great at traveling and warfare on the water, but the Mycenaeans were better at fighting on the land. And so that was kind of what separated them. The Minoans spent a lot of time at sea. They were fishermen, but they also used it to travel. Crete's locations was great for Minoan traders since it was on the water, but it was dangerous. In the 1600s, a huge volcano south of Crete erupted, causing a giant wave that flooded Crete and threw up huge clouds of ash, which ruined crop and buried cities. And so, by this happening, the Minoan society is basically destroyed. Their trade is destroyed. A lot of the people are killed. It kills their crops. And ultimately, they're forced to join in with other groups of people. Some with the Mycenaeans, some abandoned it, went other places, and some died. But it really ended the power of the Minoan civilization. The Mycenaeans were building fortresses while the Minoans were taken to the sea. And when the Minoan society declined, the Mycenaeans took over Crete and used the trade for their benefit. They kind of used the model by the Minoans and thought, well, if they did it, we can do it too. Mycenaean society, I think I'm saying that wrong, began to fall apart. Mycenaean, there it is. Society began to fall apart in the 1200s BC when invaders from Europe swept across Greece. About 300 years after their Mycenaean civilization crumbled, the Greeks started to join in small groups called city-states. Now, we've talked about city-states before, and I've referenced the Greek city-states, even though we haven't covered this yet, because it's an important part of not just Greek society, but European society moving forward. A polis is a Greek word for city-state. And this is where we get the word polis that comes at the end of metropolis, things like that, meaning a very large city. A metropolis is a large city-state. And a city-state in modern terms would be the city and the land around it. And so they're basically one political unit. The city and the area surrounding the city are one political unit. That means that the armies are the same. That means that the crops and the taxes and stuff kind of work together. And that's how Greek society was made up. City-states in Greece were a very important part of their society. The Classical Age is a period marked by great achievements for Greek people. A lot of the stuff that we're going to look back on at the Renaissance is going to come from the Classical Age Greece. Just shows you some of the important Greek city-states. This is in 750 BC. Some that's most notable, Delphi. You sometimes hear about the Oracle of Delphi. Thebes, Athens, Corinth, Mycenae, which is going to develop from the Mycenaean people. I get that mixed up. This is Olympia. This is where it's believed that the great gods are going to be on Mount Olympus. Sparta. This is going to be the Peloponnesian League. Later on, we're going to have the Peloponnesian and the Delian League. The Delian League is going to be up here. The Peloponnesian League is going to be down here. They're going to go to war with each other in the Peloponnesian War. So, that brings to the end of section 1. We discussed the Minoans and Mycenaeans. And we analyzed the city-states of Greece. So, we're going to pick back up with section 2.